Hello everyone, Sessonyero Rudideri here, the internet's busiest unironic power scaler in Weeaboo, and today we're going to be talking about the ever-controversial and vexatious powers of the literal alien ninja space cop Momoshiki Otsutsuki, and its ever-profound influence on the world of Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. Since the beginning of the Shinobi world, the Great Wars, the founding of the Hidden Villages, the titanic battles of Madara and Hashirama, Naruto learning Shadow Clones, Kakashi and Sasuke Sharingans, the Nine Tails, Neji's Byakugan, and every ninjutsu the show really has to offer have all been the cataclysmic aftermath of the Otsutsuki clan's influence over Earth and their never-ending quest to be immortal and conquer abnormalities in space and time itself. Kaguya failed to report Earth to her superiors and sell it out, as despite what her temperament may project, she cared for mankind as a whole, she loved her sons, and even repopulated mankind after the God Tree ran amok and basically killed everything. To defend herself and her autocracy over these people, she created an army preparing for the inevitable assault of her superiors. However, Kaguya's moral ambiguity was, despite the fact that she loved, she feared a lot more and began to pluck individuals for her army. This would lead to her eventual defeat by Hagoromo and Hamura after she killed his girlfriend, and later again by Naruto and Sasuke. After Kaguya's will literally almost formed the entire Shinobi world single-handedly, simply just to revive herself, which is ultra ironic when you remember that Kaguya was complaining that the Otsutsuki only cared about power. After this event, a plan was developed for one of the last remnants of Hamura, Toneri Otsutsuki. Toneri's plan was to finish Kaguya's job, but since the Earth was so out of balance and its spatial curvature was out of whack from the growth of the world, Toneri simply planned to destroy it by launching the moon at it at high speeds using a device. After failing, he tries to launch the moon and destroy the Earth with his own power, in which Naruto states he won't let him and defeats it. Many years after that, we learn that this was all influenced by the higher Otsutsuki members. Toneri is then sealed away in time for turning on the clan, and the scrolls of Kaguya's fears and knowledge of the clan came to Sasuke's attention. These scrolls then would forewarn a threat of people greater than Kaguya coming to Earth, in which Sasuke thinks that the threat is actually Kinshiki and Momoshiki when he had recently fought Kinshiki in Kaguya's dimension. The fact that the entire series and its events can be influenced by just a few people led by Momoshiki playing space cop is pretty astounding, and only speaks of the power he had held over the series since the get-go, since he was Kaguya and many other superiors that would police the other clan members' actions. And we of course see his power on full display, such as being able to knock down a god tree or divine tree by simply powering up and screaming, when even a lesser god tree could take hits in warping space from 8 Gates Guy, and took a 6-pass lava Rasen Shuriken from Naruto to knock down. Momoshiki can destroy it with just his presence alone. He alone was able to casually swat away punches from Naruto that seemingly one-shotted Toneri in the last, a being who could have destroyed all of Earth and had a chakra compared to Kaguya on the actual DVD box set. Momoshiki was also even able to read through many of Naruto and Sasuke's extremely complex combination jutsus, whereas characters like Kaguya would seemingly be fooled by the most basic of tricks. Even Madara, who's renowned for his intelligence, was fooled by many basic teleportations and tricks numerous times, whereas Momoshiki required entire combinations and intricate strategies, at least in the anime, to catch by surprise even with teleportation. Not to say Momoshiki is smarter than Madara, just to give him credit where it's due, since his fighting experience seems to be pretty high. In Boruto Novel 3, not to be confused with the retcon movie novelization, it stated that Momoshiki visited a dying solar system and was ripping apart the planet there and was casually munching on a god tree that he had devoured to the point that it was a stump that he could sit on. Except this god tree had actually ate the planet of all of its chakra and life force like some Tree of Might shit from Dragon Ball or something. It's actually even roughly implied in some translations that the dying star illuminating the world with its red auroras might be his doing as well. Even in the movie novelizations, Momoshiki is shown absorbing chakra from his entire dimensions, which can be shown to have numerous stars littered throughout them, which speaks volumes. Shout out to my good friend Sebs, who you can find in the link down below, who did give me this translation. She does do commissions and she does do a lot of work, so thank you for that. And also, if we had more translators like her, maybe people wouldn't be going around saying that the movie novelizations would be saying that he's destroying stars and when he's clearly just sitting on a planet, and all of these amateur translators seem to mistranslate Hoshi, which can mean stars or planets or celestial bodies and etc. So these things are pretty important to reach out to. For Momoshiki's powers, he should be able to perform Kaguya's feats and then some in terms of raw strength, considering that Momo is a far superior Otsutsuki based active base, but with far more god trees consumed over his career. In fact, Momoshiki and Kinshiki were even fully aware of the chakra presence on Earth, as the spatial curvature was stated by Kinshiki to have hit a quote-unquote 16 when a 10 should be reported to them. They then learned Kaguya betrayed them, and even that Kaguya got slapped by Naruto and Sasuke, yet they were fully confident in coming to the planet and stomping it out completely. We later learned, by the way, that this massive curvature of the Earth was mainly caused by Naruto, as hinted by Kinshiki after Momoshiki defeats Killer Bee. Speaking of which, after fighting Kinshiki, who is Momo's underling, Sasuke was fully convinced that this was the threat that surpassed Kaguya, so it makes sense that Momoshiki, or at least fused Momo, would be relative to Kaguya, if not at least greater. Kaguya, with her full powers, was able to create an expansive truth-seeking orb that could engulf and destroy her Genesis dimension, as stated in the 4th data book that states, the same as the black orbs that appear behind Naruto's back using 6-pass Sage mode can't be compared to its dimensions, referring to size. Comprised of all 5 elements in yin-yang, it had the power to obliterate the world and return it to nothing. Emphasis on a obliterate and returning to nothing, as this isn't just a destruction feat, which I'm going to be emphasizing a lot. The Genesis dimension is big enough to hold an entire moon in its orbit, and even has seasons like summer and winter, or at least different caps and so forth. Lowballing, Kaguya's chakra was so massive that she could bare minimum destroy a distance with her durability nullifying ETSO of the Genesis planet to orbiting moons in the distance. It's actually stated that the true-seeking orb should be a far more advanced version of the particle style, which actually works more so on a molecular level. But for this calc, we'll just say that Kaguya was going to vaporize everything in her dimension. This is even further lowballing when you realize that the data book says she's going to obliterate everything in her dimension to nothing, and in which Zetsu comments including its very time space, so vaporization is actually a lowball. I'm going to keep pressing that. If it were to reach a distance from, say, Earth to the moon, it would have a radius of 384,000 kilometers. Even lowballing a moon can only be so far from its planet, so this is a fine distance to use. Of course, Kaguya's orb was then going to explode omnidirectionally, not just towards the moon, as the moon orbits the planet. Doing so would require a force of around 6.11 undecillion joules of force, which is enough to destroy a planet by tens of thousands of times. And I'll show kind of a grid on the screen of what that radius would actually look like. This is of course ignoring the obvious that Kaguya's dimensions are far more massive than a planet in an orbiting body. Many people have questioned the size of Kaguya's dimensions for a long time, claiming it doesn't need a star to have light and so on. However, we actually have a solid answer of what it could be like. Of course, we'll ignore Storm 4's representation of Kaguya's dimension, which shows it has like a full universe in it, since that cannot actually be considered canon for a debate like this. In the official Naruto OVA, the day Naruto became Hokage, we see Sasuke at the very end and what he's up to while Naruto became Hokage in manga format, and it shows Sasuke roaming Kaguya's dimensions, except we get a clear look at what might actually be in those dimensions, and that is a fully fledged out star and a massive orbiting moon in one of the lesser dimensions. The Genesis dimension can take the chakra of all of Kaguya's other dimensions and is the glue that keeps them all together. Not only this, but the glowing moon shown later in her dimensions were never actually intended to glow, as one was actually made by Naruto and Sasuke themselves, as well as the fact that the dimensions actually seem to have seasons or caps around the planet, as well as full day and night cycles, completely debunking the notion that the moon or sun have artificial lights. Also, all claims that it is an artificial star would have to be provided by the claimant. You cannot ask the audience to prove a negative. So therefore, it is, under that axiom, a star. We even see in Momoshiki's alternate dimensions that he himself has that they are full of stars. Therefore, there's far more evidence these dimensions actually have real stars, planets, and bodies floating around them than fake ones. If Kaguya's dimension has a star in it, there should be a distance between the star and planet similar to the distance between the Earth and the Sun. 1 AU is 149 million kilometers. Using a sphere of this size gives us 360 trillion joules, which is more than if we took literally 100 planets the size of Earth, just like ours, and turned them completely into functional planet-sized little boy nuclear bombs and had them all explode at the same time. Essentially, it'd be very high, large star level, almost solar system tier. And yes, the ETSO does scale to Kaguya's attack potency, as the ETSO is literally her just creating a massive true-seeking orb with her own chakras, as well as the Shinobi Alliance, but the Shinobi Alliance wouldn't even be Ninetales level, considering Naruto powered them all up by numerous times, meaning Kaguya can create create attacks of similar magnitude even without such feats. Considering she was also extremely fatigued by the end of the battle, and fatigued Kaguya would be the one who reaches almost solar system level, let alone a prime Kaguya per se. From here, you'll get claims like outlier and so forth, but there's nothing actually to show that it would be an outlier to anything. This would just be a prime feat from a 6 paths level character. Even lesser 6 paths characters like Toneri, who Naruto could fight using Sage Biju modes, was going to grab the moon and hurl it at Earth with enough force to destroy it entirely. And of course, Momoshiki and other source materials has even been shown absorbing energies from his massive pocket dimensions, which have stars residing throughout them. So in all actuality, there's nothing for it to be an actual outlier to. Even the fodder characters like the 10 Tails and 9 Tails have been stated numerous times in the data books and by the cast to be threats to the entire planet structurally. Momoshiki himself then fuses with his father figure, Kinshiki, who has been stated to have casual attacks that can split apart planets. This gives Momoshiki such an amp that even an adult and much more powerful Sasuke can't even make him flinch with a surprise sword slash from nowhere. The Momoshiki who even scales to Kaguya if he does would actually be the base Momoshiki and Kinshiki you see at the start of their arcs and etc., let alone them fusing, or Urashiki who thinking they could stand a chance against Naruto and Sasuke even after watching many events unfold on Earth from a distance, including the battle with Toneri, who was stated to have a chakra similar to Kaguya, at least on the box sets, meaning these stats might actually be lowballed through power scaling. If you want to know more about the scaling of adult Naruto and Sasuke, I do have a video on adult Sasuke versus Madara that you guys might like, but I am going to be doing a far more in-depth breakdown of adult Naruto in the future in my Naruto versus Ichigo versus battle that I am doing with Clyde the Weeaboo. Continuing on, we'll just wrap this up with some people will then try to downplay Momoshiki by saying the 5 Kage or the new gen Gokage stood a chance against his base form, but this is in fact says nothing about Momo or Kin or even Urashiki. All it says is about the progress of the 5 Kage and their development with time. It should be noted that before the battle with Momo, Sasuke was still under the impression, whether you guys try to deny it or not, that Kinshiki and Momoshiki was stronger than Kaguya, yet still thought the Kage would be helpful against them. So no, they simply just became more powerful. Even in the final fight with Boruto and Sasuke, which really gets people just pent up and just angry as hell, Momoshiki was extremely drained and fatigued to the point that he needed 4 chakra pills he pulled out of his ass to rely on entirely. As an example of what these mean, Killer B and the 8 Tails only gave off 3 chakra pills, and Momoshiki didn't even take all of B's chakra as B survived, and Momo thought it was barely any at all. So the fact he was running on 4 kind of says a lot about the state he was in. It should also be noted that Boruto basically had a giant Rasengan he infused with lightning release to make a big ball vanishing Rasengan, which is pretty much the equivalent to a lightning release Rasengan, whereas a wind release would be a Rasen Shuriken. On top of Boruto having his strange Otsutsuki Toneri I-amp that is noted later, all of Momo's Renegons were getting gouged out one by one before this really happened, and it wasn't a prime Momoshiki that lost to Boruto and Sasuke by remotely any means. In fact, you could say that the Momoshiki that lost to Boruto was far weaker than even the 9 Tails individually without 6 paths powers. You could actually make that argument. You could say maybe like Killer B is a lot stronger like the 5 Kage are now, but it would still be probably weaker than base Momoshiki, since base Momoshiki thought that 3 chakra pills was absolutely fodder to him, so it's not like fused Momo level by any means. After he is defeated, Momoshiki stops time and analyzes all of Boruto's fate with his Byakugan with a single glance, and then proclaims that Boruto's powers actually have a strong Otsutsuki trait in them, which more so says that other Otsutsuki may in fact actually have more advanced ocular versions of Boruto's powers, just like how Urashiki may have 2 Renegon similar to Sasuke's. I wouldn't actually be surprised if Momo and Kin were more so like captain-like figures, like space cops, like I was saying, than the actual higher-ups sitting at home. They'd be kind of like Nappa and Vegeta coming to Earth looking for the guys that beat Raditz, and there's Frieza sitting back on Namek or something. That's actually the vibe they're giving me, and I wouldn't be surprised if there is like a much stronger hierarchy sitting in the background. Other than that, that's all there is to say. For this video at least, I think I'm not really going to talk about speed, although there's a lot to go over for that as well in the future. So be sure to subscribe and keep an eye out for more Naruto and Boruto scales, especially considering that Naruto and Sasuke weren't even at full power during this whole encounter, and they've gotten a lot stronger over the years. So other than that, hope you guys enjoyed, and till next time.